In today's session, we are going to try to spend some time on one of the important concept called web services. In today's market, if you work on any of the technology, irrespective, be it a Java developer, be it a .NET developer, be it a AWS or DevOps or an ESB developer, no matter what it is, if you really understand the end-to-end process of your application, or if you want to really understand the complete business picture of your application, you must and should know the concept called web services, right? So the services is not really a new concept for everyone. We are day in and day out using a lot of services, like food as a service is nothing but your Swiggy or Zomato is one of the example for your food as a service. Similarly, we are car as a service, right? So this service is provided by your Uber or your Ola is providing a car as a service typically. Similarly, what do you mean by a web services? So it is not really a rocket science to understand, but if you clearly observe the name itself, it is indicating a service which is available over internet. That is the reason it is called as a web service. If you look at the abbreviation of AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. Even your Amazon Web Services is also, Amazon is providing certain services over the internet or over the web. So that is the reason we are calling that as a Amazon Web Services. So we'll try to understand really what do you mean by a web service and how we are going to develop those web services and what are the various types of web services available in the market and how really web services are leveraging in the software development process, or how they really makes the job easy, right? So the simple definition for web service is nothing but, a web service is nothing but business logic is written by somebody within your organization or outside of your organization. Business logic is written by somebody. We are going to access that business logic over internet. That's it. So you really need not to write the complete or complex business logic. Somebody is already written that complex business logic and made it available for you. See, suppose example, if you want to develop a mobile application, in your application you would like to display today's weather report, or you would like to say next 7 days what is your weather forecast. So for that you really need not to buy the thermometer and or you really need not to get in touch with the weather reporters to get the information and publish in your mobile application or web application, right? So for this, your weather report or weather information will be provided by some or the other third parties. You just utilize that logic, how they are calculating, whether they are interacting with the satellites and how they are getting that information behind the sense that really not a matter for us. For you, you have to display the historical information about a particular weather in a particular city, right? In that case, you really need not the complete business logic. You go and get that required information and display on the screen. Not only whether we have several APIs like that, like example, if you want to develop an application which has to display a selected or subscribed stock related information, right? What is the trend of this particular 10, top 10 or your subscribed 10 shares market value, be it last 6 months, be it last 1 year, you would like to project how it is going to be next 1 month, like that, right? So for this, you really need not to get in touch with all the stock exchange or stock exchange brokers, right, to display that. So we have the APIs are available over internet. You just use those APIs and develop the application according to your wish and will. So web services are typically nothing but a simple business logic which is written by somebody else. We are going to access that business logic over the internet. So that is the reason we are called that as a web service. In simple terms, if I call a web service is nothing but, your web service is equal to HTTP protocol, because since it is available over internet and the business logic is available over internet, you are going to access that business logic using a standard protocols like HTTP protocol, right? Okay, I'm using the HTTP protocol, but what is the mechanism or what is the format of data that I would like to send? The format of data generally nowadays the people are preferring. You can go for be it a XML, be it a JSON, or be it a TXT or a BSON format. Any of these data format you can send and access the available business logic. Correct? In very, very simple terms, web service is equal to HTTP protocol plus business logic. You are going to access that business logic over internet by sending the any format of data that the service is accepting, be it an XML data, be it JSON data, or a text data, or it can be a BSON data. So typically the main design goal behind a web service is to provide a mechanism between two different heterogeneous systems or two different applications. Like one example, one application within your organization is developed using Java and the other application developed using .NET. So the Java application contains some sort of business logic which is very complex. I would like to use, or I want the same similar behavior in my .NET application, right? Why should I write that complex business logic inside my .NET application? We both are in the same organization. These two applications are serving for the similar organization or same organization. Then why I need to really reinvent the wheel, or why I need to rewrite the same code in a different programming languages, right? So I am going to provide a mechanism in order to access the Java based implemented logic I would like to access in my .NET based application. But directly, if you look at these two are two different applications, and at the same time, these two are developed using two different technologies. So to make it possible, or your web services are providing an interface or a communication medium between two different or heterogeneous technologies or heterogeneous applications, right? So that is the reason your web services are complementing the service oriented architecture. It is not a replacement, it is complementing your a service based or service oriented architecture. Why? Because if you look at in any enterprise, there are n number of applications are working, and one application is depending on other application for some or the other reason. So that is the reason, if you consider a large scale enterprises, they are going to develop the applications as a services. So when I call that service, what is the way of communicating one application with another application? Typically we are using the concept called web services, right? So web services are at a high level. I can scale it as two different widely used web service methodologies. One is simple object access protocol or a SOAP based web services, and the other one is RESTful web services or REST based web services. So what is the other technologies that we have prior to SOAP or REST? We have a concept called RMI, remote method invocation, and there is one more mechanism called CORBA. So these are the two popular technologies people are using in order to open a communication between multiple or heterogeneous applications. But due to the platform dependency challenges, like example RMI, you can strictly use with Java applications only. I mean, one Java application can communicate with another Java application with the help of RMI. But it is not possible. One Java application is talk to a .NET application with RMI. It is not possible, right? So, but using a CORBA to some extent, you can access this behavior from Java application to .NET application. But there are wide varieties of challenges which are involved in CORBA. So that is the reason people are stopped using CORBA and RMI, and people are come up with a new concept called a SOAP based web services, simple object access protocol, using which you can interchange the data between two different heterogeneous application. The simple definition of a SOAP based web services is nothing but you can access the business logic which is written by somebody else over a HTTP protocol, right? And the data format here is mandatorily XML only. You can send XML data and you can receive XML data, and you must and should use HTTP post method only. Other than HTTP post method, it is not going to support, and you must and should use XML data only for the data transmission purpose. Right? Whenever you are using a SOAP-based web service, compulsory you have to send XML data and receive XML data. Right? So there are wide varieties of challenges when it comes to SOAP-based web services. People are happy initially. Still, majority of the banking and financial sector, people are still relying on a SOAP-based web services. But the nowadays, the current market, speed to market or agile methodology development, or if you want to send your application rapidly into the market, your XML are not the ideal candidate because of its heavy weight. Because if you want to represent some of the data in a XML format, then while sending over the network the same XML data, it is taking a huge amount of time. The same data, if you represent in a different format like text or JSON format, the same data, but the format is different. If you send it over a network, then it is going to take a less speed. Right? Everybody's want a fast and performance is the key metric for the application. So if you consider the performance as a metric, XML has bit low performance when it comes to other data formats like JSON and text. And writing the XML code, it is difficult for the a regular normal, be it a Java developer, the people who are coming from the programming knowledge background, they are unable to understand, or it is hard for them to code in XML style. And at the same time, if you want to provide a meaningful syntax and semantics to the XML, and we have to write the XSDs, your XML schema definition, it is even more difficult, and there are not really very handful tools for the XSDs writing or parsing your XML to a human readable format. So these are the various challenges we are people are facing with respect to a SOAP-based web services, right? So the first one is parsing, a bit hard because of the parsers are not available. Speed is also a matter, right? So while sending it over to network, it will cause some performance issues, right? So it is hard for the developer. It is hard for the developers to understand, right? So these are the various reasons people are looking out for the opportunities or alternates for the SOAP-based web services. And every time you have to use the HTTP post only, and every time you are going to huge payload in the form of an XML, then you have to parse and you have to extract the required information out of that a big XML content, right? So that is the reason people are. And one more important thing is, whenever you are trying to working on a SOAP-based web services, we are going to have a important document called WSDL file. Dot WSDL file, web service description language, right? This is an API documentation, or I can call it as a web service documentation, which is describing about your web service. Meaning, before you construct an house, if you approach an engineer, that guy will give you a blueprint or a document, which is a logical representation of your house. I mean, by looking at the document, you can identify where is your master bedroom, where is your bedroom, and where is your washroom and kitchen and things like that. So similarly, if I hand over the WSDL file, right? So since it is a WSDL file, it is in an XML format. If you give this to a layman, right, it is hard for that guy to understand what do you mean by this thing, right? What is this XML and how to use this XML document and things like that, right? But I would like to get more insights about my API. Then if you really use an appropriate tools like be it SOAP UI kind of tools, then you are going to get the information about your a SOAP based web service. What are the various operations it has? what is the request format, if I send this request, what is the response that you are going to get, right? So all this information will be get out of that a WSDL file if you are using the right tools in place, right? So ideally, if you are using any web services, you have to give the API documentation in the form of a WSDL file, right? So on the other hand, if you look at a RESTful web service, is nothing but similar. A business logic is available over internet, but here you can use any data format. You can use XML, you can use JSON, you can use BSON, and you can use any method. There is no hard and fast rule. You have to use HTTP post only. You have to use any HTTP method. You have to send any data format, and you have to access that business logic which is available over internet. And it is very, very lightweight in nature. Why? Because you are going to send the data over JSON. The similar amount of data, if you try to send over network, the JSON data will be sent very fast or quick compared to your XML data, right? So far, till 2 or 3 years back, there is no certain standards. There is no certain standards in order to provide the API documentation. For the first time, people are coming up with a tool called Swagger. Swagger is one of the documentation or the API documentation tool for the RESTful web service, but you cannot directly write the Swagger files basically. Right, in SOAP-based web services, you can write the WSDL files first, but you cannot write the Swaggers directly. Right now, industry is trying to adapt a contract first approach. I mean to say, so there are two different types of web services like SOAP and RESTful web services. And similarly, if you want to develop any web service, be it a SOAP-based web services or a RESTful web services, you have to follow two different design approaches, right? So those two design approaches are, so one is your contract first approach or your code first approach. What do you mean by a contract first approach? First, you have to define what is your API, right? So before you physically construct a house, it is better to have a plan in front of you, right? Because plan does not give you any monetary effects. But once you started a physical construction, if you're not satisfied with the existing design, then it is going to be a loss for you, right? So that is the reason first. And if you are directly start coding first, you are violating the SDLC principle, right? So according to the SDLC principle, first you have to define your contract and then you have to start coding it. So even for the web services development, first you have to design, or first you have to provide the contract first. So providing the contract first is nothing but writing the WSDL file first. Means first we have to write the WSDL files first, right? After that, from the WSDL file, you have to generate the actual client code, be it in Java or .NET, no matter what it is. You feed that contract first WSDL file to any tools, it will generate the client or server side stubs for you, right? Okay. And whenever it comes to RESTful web services, people are preferring directly writing the code first because nowadays a lot of frameworks available in the market. The people who are coming from the Java background, if you adapt Spring or Spring Boot, right, it is just minutes of time in order to expose a RESTful web services, right? So by writing a Spring Boot application, you are not really writing the contract of an API first. You are not documenting anything. First, you are started writing the code. Out of that, you are trying to generate the documentation, be it by integrating Swagger or any other tools. You are generating the UI. But actually, according to the SDLC lifecycle, you are not supposed to do the coding first without providing the contract. So RESTful web services are violating, to some extent, they are violating the design principles. That is the reason nowadays the people are came front and providing, or they are trying to bring some standards in order to develop a RESTful web services in the form of an open API is one example is Open API is one of the standard. Swagger is the implementation of your Open API, and from MuleSoft, RAML came into the picture, your REST API modeling language. If you want to develop any RESTful web services, so your Mule is enforcing you to first try to write a RAML file. From the RAML file, you try to build a your application, right? So these are the two different approaches that we have in the market. The first one is contract first approach, and the second one is a code first approach, right? So these are the Open API or Swagger or RAMLs or the API documentation tools which are available in the market for the RESTful web services development purpose, right? So ideally you have to write the contract first and then you have to start coding, right? So okay, when it comes to how web services are a very good ideal candidate into the service oriented architecture world or ESB is market, right? Your ESB stands for enterprise service bus, where we are trying to integrate multiple systems together. So as I mentioned, I am integrating multiple systems. What are those multiple systems and how you are integrating those multiple systems together? So here the SOA concept, or I am complementing the service oriented architecture with the help of a web service. So web services are complementing your service oriented architecture or enterprise service buses. So with the help of web services, I'm complementing or I'm enhancing the service oriented architecture. If you even more drill down your service oriented architecture, that is called as your microservices. Now people are talking very great about the microservices. It is not really a new concept which is invented recently. If you drill down, if you break your SOA platform into even smaller pieces, then it will become your microservices architecture. It is not about the monolithic into microservices directly, right? So if you clearly observe from the monolithic world, people are move towards service oriented architecture, where I'm breaking one big application into small services. Each and every service is interacting with one more services with the help of web services, right? And even I drill down the service oriented architecture platform into much more smaller pieces, that is called as micro services, right? So this is all about web services, guys. So web services are very key aspect in order to learn any application, be it a Java developer, be it a .NET developer, no matter what it is. So you are going to come across web services widely, and still so based web services are using in the market. They are not died yet, they are about to die, and people are adapt. The people who are starting their application recently, people are starting RESTful web services development, no matter what is the domain it is, be it a banking and financial domain, be it retail, uh, or be it a insurance domain or an e-commerce domain. Your RESTful web services are taking the advantages because of its lightweight in nature, right? So all the programming languages, majority of the programming languages are providing the frameworks such as Spring Boot, or your Python is providing the frameworks like Bottle and Flask. So these are the various frameworks which are available in the market to make API development becomes much more easy. But whatever the approach that you are taking, ideally you have to write the contract first or code first approach, but ideally you have to take the contract first approach as the uh, development methodology once you started developing any SOAP based web services, right? So the key difference is this guy. Thanks.